Peace. Welcome to I Him, the homeless introverted man. Today's topic, no contact. Why I have no contact with my child. Actually, I recorded this about 3 or 4 times, and I try the attempt to go over the chronology over my experience with my child and why we have no contact. But like I stated in the earlier video, I'm a little disconnected from the stories. I used to be able to hang on to the stories and tell them over and over and over and over again to myself and be crying and boo-hooing over the stories. And the stories became my crutch in life. But since I've been going through this healing process, I'm no longer attached to the stories. So it's rather difficult for me to remember the details of the stories. And I'm thankful that I am now healed from the stories. They no longer hurt me, and they're no longer a crutch to me. So I'll keep this brief of why I have no contact with my child and the results of it. Well, my child was born September 28th, 2000. He was conceived on November 15th, 1999. And I knew he was conceived. I told his mom that my ex-wife told her that she was pregnant on November 15th after we made love, and she didn't believe me. So I went to sleep that night and had a dream. And sure enough, in my dream, she was laying on the operating table having a C-section, and they pulled him out of the womb, and sure enough, it was a boy, and he was light-skinned and curly hair, and he reminded me of Emmanuel Lee Lewis. So that's why his middle name is Emmanuel. Nicholas is God with us. Nicholas is conqueror of the people, victorious conqueror of the people, and Emmanuel means God with us. So fast forward to February 15th, she's at the doctor's office. I'm at work, and she calls me at work and tells me she's pregnant. I said, how far along are you pregnant? She said, 3 months. I was like, I told you she was pregnant November 15th. So when we went to the first ultrasound, and they told me that we were having a girl, I was like, we're not having a girl, we're having a boy. So I showed the doctor the picture that I saw in the ultrasound that it was a boy, and they was looking at me like I was crazy. So the second ultrasound we went to, sure enough, they said it was a boy. So I remember after he was born, my brother-in-law, her sister's husband, told me that, hey man, you know that for the next 18 years, it's not going to be about you, it's going to be about that baby. I was like, yeah, I know. He said, your wife is going to make it be about that child. It's not going to be about you. And me being a Virgo, being stubborn, I refused to believe that. Sure enough, he was right. We had differences of parenting styles, and I wanted to be a disciplinarian, set structure, and she wanted to spoil him. And of course, when he turned a month old, I held him in my arms and cried like a little baby because my father was murdered when I was a month old. Yeah, so being that my dad was murdered when I was only a month old, when my son turned a month old, it was very sacred to me. So I took fatherhood serious, a little bit too serious if you ask me. I was very dogmatic when it came to parenting, to the point where my ex-wife felt that I was blocking her from being a mother to her own son. I was so involved in his life. I mean, I even built his baby room and changed diapers, fed him up at night and everything when he was crying, picked out his clothes and all that stuff. I was very involved in his life early on. So our parenting style class and it caused friction in our marriage. So therefore, a brother started tipping out on the marriage. Yeah, I cheated and committed adultery, and at the time, I was also preaching at a church, and I was a youth minister at a church, and started slacking off on the preaching. And I also worked at a parachurch organization, nonprofit organization called Family Life, where we did, ironically, marriage conferences, and I did a little counseling on the phone, marriage counseling on the phone. So that was ironic. So a brother was doing the fool. I was rebelling because I didn't know how to co-parent with my son's mother. So I actually confessed that I was cheating, and we started going to counseling, and we went to a few marriage conferences. Man, those marriage conferences was a grip. I mean, they cost like about $1,200 to $1,300 for a weekend, but since I work for the organization, I got a discount for $200. So that was a good break. So we went to about 3 marriage conferences, went to about a dozen counseling sessions. So in the counseling session with our pastor, really just found out that she just didn't want to be married anymore. So in 2005, my mother died. In that same year, she served me the divorce papers. So I'm still distraught over my mom's death, still grieving. Actually, I witnessed my mom's last breath. I held her hand when we took her off of life support. So I was still grieving over the death of my mom. And when she served me the divorce papers, I didn't think she was going to do it, but she did. And I just signed them, not realizing that I signed over parental rights. Why did I do that for? Being stupid. Man, I was really stupid back then. But anyway, fast forward a little bit, it's 2006. Things wasn't going too well in Little Rock, Arkansas, so I decided to move to Dallas, Texas for a better life so I can make better money and take better care of my child. So moved there. That was like, moved there May 12th, 2006, and got a job May 26th, 2006. Good paying job, had my own apartment, had my own car, making good money, working overtime and all of that during the summertime. So for my birthday, I wanted my son to come visit me in Dallas for my birthday. Well, that was the start of her pulling the strings, taking control because she had full parental rights. Well, let me backtrack a little bit, because actually in the divorce decree, not only that I waived my parental rights, she fell up under irreconcilable differences, which at least she did that because she didn't file due to my infidelity. It was just that she just didn't want to be married. So after the divorce, things wasn't going well in Little Rock, Arkansas. Didn't make much money, even though the child support went through the divorce decree. It was only $100 a week, but didn't make that much money in Little Rock, Arkansas. So I decided to move to Dallas, Texas, May 12th, 2006. Found a job May 26th of 2006, and then got a good paying job. Oh shit, I was making unlimited overtime. I was getting about $1,200, $1,300 a week. So I was sending extra money, bought him his school clothes, doing the things that a parent's supposed to do. Don't deserve a pat on the back for that, doing what I was supposed to do. So my birthday is September 4th, and I wanted him to come visit me September 4th with my sister. And by her having parental rights, she didn't want him to come visit me. So that was the start of her pulling the strings, taking full control of her parental rights. And of course, by me being a Virgo, being stubborn again, I'm like, man, I ain't trying to go to those white folks' courts and all that. I'm trying to work it out with her. So we go back and forth on that. She don't want him to come visit me, so I have to go to Little Rock, Arkansas, which is only 4.5 hours, a 4.5 hour drive. And I go every other weekend, twice a month, to visit him on the weekend. And I'm thinking I would get him for the weekend, but I gotta get in what I fit in with our hours and all that stuff. So, time goes on, and fast forward. Well, let me just say this here. Like, anytime she asks for extra money, I give her extra money, whatnot. Because the divorce decree, the child support was only $100 a week, right? So I sent extra money, $300, $400, $500 extra a week or whatnot. So she meets a guy or whatever, and they get engaged. So they limit my access to my son, talking to my son or whatnot. So things happen with her fiance, to the point where she decided that she needs to put me on child support through the county. So she served me papers and everything, and she started asking for back child support. And then we really got into it, because I'm like, well, shit, since I'm paying all this extra money and you asking for back child support, well, let me really be more involved with my child. Now, all I had to do was go to the courts. Nah, brother didn't want to do that. I'm still trying to work it out with her. I want to call up to the school. I can't really get information on how he's doing in school, because I'm not on the list. I wanted to, for his 16th birthday, I wanted to check him out of school, make a special trip from Dallas and check him out for school for his 16th birthday. She didn't want me to do that. I wanted to take him to a Dallas Cowboys game. She didn't want me to do that because he didn't want to or whatever. So I'm like, okay, well, I said, fuck it. Well, I'm just going to move on with my life. So, but I got real depressed. I'm begging her, please let him come stay with me and all that. And she said no, but when things went bad with her fiance and everything, she was going to do some things. She asked me, well, can he come stay with you? And I was like, yeah, sure, come on. But then she changed her mind on that. So I was getting depressed when she changed her mind. So I started going to counseling and everything. And I'll never forget what this counselor told me. He told me that, well, before the counselor told me what he told me, I was crying all during the sessions about how my son came to me in a dream, how special he is to me, and I miss my son and all of that. So the counselor, he finally just broke down in the session. He just told me, he said, look, have you ever considered that you might have to live your life without your son? And I never thought about that. Which leads me to why I have no contact with my son. Well, we're about to get down to the conclusion of this. Well, when he said that, a few years go by, I meet this young lady or whatnot, and she has 2 adult kids, and we hit it off, and one of her adult kids have a child. So now she's a grandmother, I'm a grandfather. Now, I'm not the one to really post my relationship status and all that on social media, especially on Facebook. But the young lady, I asked her to marry me, and she posted it on Facebook. And she started posting our relationship outings and family gatherings and stuff on Facebook. So my son started seeing it, because I was tagged in the post and he was on my friends list. So I guess he felt some type of way. So by this time, he's getting ready to graduate high school. So I goes to his graduation. I'm very proud of him that he graduated from high school. My mom, she didn't even attend my graduation. So I was blessed enough to attend his graduation. So a year after he graduated high school, no, I'll say about 3 years after he graduated high school. This was what, 2021? We have a conversation on the phone and we're talking about different things. So I told him, I said, man, why you really just don't talk to me? Why you don't answer my phone calls? Or because I try to call him every day, but he's so busy. He got a job. I try to talk to his mom. His mom don't really say anything to him. You know, she doesn't play mediators. We never could co-parent together. Basically, I'm on my own, which is difficult, which I realize that it's difficult to parent from another state. You gotta be with your child every day. And that was something that he mentioned in this conversation, that he wished that he was able to see me every day because him and his mom went through some terrible things with her fiance. Especially, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I took pride in getting married first and having a child second. Because growing up in the hood, everybody I knew grew up with, especially my family, my sisters, older sisters, they had their first kid when they were 16 years old. Their daughters had their kids when they were 16 years old. All my friends and stuff, they having kids 15, 16 years old. So I got one homie, shit, by the time he was 21, he had 7 kids by 5 different baby mamas. So it's like I took pride in getting married first and not having a child out of wedlock. Well, after the divorce, and she gets, my ex-wife, she gets engaged, she gets pregnant. And she has a baby out of wedlock. And dude was a crackhead too. I'm just gonna put it out there. And I'm still being supportive and everything, and trying to play mediator between my son and his mom and all of that, trying to still be there. Because hey, I married her for a reason. I loved her, you know, and I had a baby with her, so I still respected her and cared about her. But I didn't like her. And as years went by, talking to my son, I realized I didn't really too much like my son. I love my son. I care about my son. I respect my son. But by him being around his mother every day and that feminine energy, by me not being in the household, he was soaking up that feminine energy. And talking to my son was like talking to his mother. It was like talking to a bride, to be honest with you. So when we had this conversation that one day, the last time I talked to him, he was telling me all the things that he was going through with his mom's ex-fiance, and that he was abusive and all that. And he was telling me different things, which I didn't know. And he was saying that I was never there in his life and all of that. And I started laughing. And he was like, what you laughing for? And I was like, man, look, I'm sorry that you had to go through all of that, but you need to holler at your mom about that. I said, man, I always was there in your life and try to be in your life physically as much as I can. He was like, you coming to see me every weekend, it wasn't enough. I said, man, I was trying to get you for the whole weekend. I tried to get you to stay with me and all that. And your mom, he's like, well, you're not going to put me between me and my mama. And that's what he said. And I said, man, I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to tell you the truth. But he didn't want to hear that. So he got upset and hung up in my face. So I sent him a bunch of text messages and everything, and I apologized for laughing and everything, and he never responded and all that. I think this was like February 2021 was the last time I spoke to my son. So I talked to his mom about it, what happened and everything. And of course, she was like, well, that's up to him. Because all the years that went by, she treated him as the son husband. That was her husband, basically. He was the man of the house since I wasn't there. And so she said, that's between y'all. He don't want to talk to you. He don't want to talk to you. So I was like, damn, that's fucked up. So 2022, later on 2021, that happened in February 2021, June 2021, things went to shit. The pandemic really hurt my business. I mean, y'all, man, 2021, that pandemic turned my world upside down. I could write a blues song, you feel me? Man, I lost my girl, lost my business, lost my job, lost my house, lost my dog, my best dogs died all in the same year. Lost my car, my sister died, all in 2021. So I ended up back in Little Rock, Arkansas, homeless, going through it. Still want to talk to my son. Then on top of that, one of my nephews died, was murdered. He was like a brother to me. That really hurt. So I was really going through it. Man, I checked out of life. I checked out. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I didn't want to unalive myself, but I wasn't really trying to prevent it either. If something terrible was going to happen to me, let it happen. But then I just started going over my life. And it all went back to not having a mother the way I should have had a mother. My father was murdered when I was a month old. Never knew my dad and the attachment I had with my son. Then all of a sudden that voice of that counselor came to me. Have you ever considered that you might have to live life without having a son? So I'm glad that I have no contact with my son. Because to be honest, I don't like him, he don't like me. I love him, I respect him, I wish the best for him. But I don't like him, he don't like me. And I'm glad I have no contact with my son because now I can live life. I've let go of that story. I'm telling the story for the last time. Maybe the story can help someone that went through the same thing that I went through. But it's gone. So, now don't get me wrong. The door is always open. If he wants a relationship with me, if he wants to talk to me. But see, all through the years, he's 24 now. And since the day he was born, well, not since the day he was born, but when his mom and I got a divorce and I moved to Dallas, one, she never really did her part to make sure that he had a relationship with his dad. The typical usual stuff, the holidays and all of that, but the real life, living things in life, she wasn't really a part of that. So that was the chronology of why I have no contact with my child, my son. And if so happened that my son hears this, just know that I love you and I respect you, and hopefully that someday we will be able to have contact with one another. And I hope and pray that you are a better man than I am, and that someday that you'll have a child and maybe you can understand what your dad felt for you and the respect that I have for you as being my son, that I took my fatherhood serious, very serious, and I have no regrets about that. Now, I was a little dogmatic, but I have no regrets by the conversations I had with you and the things that I was trying to teach you. And I do understand in hindsight now that it was difficult for me to really plant those seeds in you from a distance in another state. But I wish the best for you, and for anyone that's went through the same thing, whether it's dealing with you're having no contact with your child, or going through a divorce, dealing with child support and all that stuff. Leave a comment in the comment section, and make sure you like, share, subscribe to this channel. Trust the healing process, because healing is mandatory. I'm him. Peace.